And time now to take a look at what's been making headlines across the globe. And for that, I'm joined here in the studio by Solange Moujane. Hi, Solange.
Hi, Annette.
And we're going to be talking about something that most of France is literally waiting with bated breath. That, of course, being this Friday's match between Les Bleus and Uruguay.
Yes, indeed. France has kind of gone football crazy, including people who aren't really into football, myself included.
I have to add myself to that.
But the French papers are all about it. As you can see here on the cover of Le Parisien, they say encore, or more, please. The French the sports daily L'Équipe says Les Bleus, the French national team, is on a celestial path towards victory. Now, this refers to Uruguay's team name, the Celeste. But the paper warns that if France wins, there will be another major challenge ahead, beating Brazil or Belgium, who will be also competing today in the other quarterfinal.
So it really is of interest. How are the Uruguayan media covering today's match?
Well, I'd have to say, perhaps this is my opinion, but I'd have to say they're a little bit more cautious, but equally patriotic. El Observateur has a photo montage of Uruguayans and how they are prepping for the game, with buildings in Montevideo draped in blue and yellow flags and light shows. The paper's sports website referee says that Celeste team is used to sort of suffering through matches, but they are also capable of defying odds, and therefore they could actually win today against the French favourites.
Now, staying with the World Cup, and you found an article that deals with the World Cup and matters of the heart.
Yes, indeed. Now, the Daily Beast tells us that there's actually a gender war going on in Russia around the World Cup. That during the month-long World Cup, some Russian women are sort of hooking up and dating foreign men, much to the ire, according to the Daily Beast, of Russian men, some of whom have voiced their complaints and sexist views on Twitter. Now, some Russian media are even saying that this could actually lead to a sexual revolution for women who are fighting for less macho, sexist behavior and abusive behavior from certain Russian men.
Very interesting indeed. Now we're going to shift gears entirely and we're heading across to Japan and, of course, the execution of those 7 members of a doomsday cult who were executed. Again, what is the media coverage like at that end of the world?
Yeah, the Japanese daily Asahi Shimbun takes us through the timeline and the legal trials of the Aum cult's founder and his disciples, all that they went through before being executed. They were convicted of spreading sarin gas in the Tokyo Metro in 1995, as well as other attacks that killed over 24 people. Now, the Japanese daily Mainichi puts the Aum cult into a greater context and reminds us how, at the time, it was actually quite popular, that there were some 10,000 members.
Now, time to head across the Pacific and to the US, where the head of the Environmental Protection Agency has resigned. Scott Pruitt being a very controversial appointment and having a rather scandal-prone tenure as head of the agency.
Yeah, it was very, very scandal-prone, and the Washington Post goes through many of those scandals. And in cartoon form, at first they have a gallery of many of the cartoons that Tom Towles did on Pruitt over the last months. Here's one from last month of Pruitt in a deluxe bubble / bird's nest that the cartoonist calls Habitat for Inhumanity, referring to Pruitt's heavy spending and disastrous moves on the environment. In an editorial form, the Post also has a scathing editorial of all the scandals: $4.6 million spent on security, renting a hotel room for a lobbyist. The list goes on and on and on of the alleged misuse of funds. And the Post wonders how Pruitt actually lasted 503 days as EPA chief. Well, they give a number of hypotheses. They say that it may be because he did Donald Trump's bidding of rolling back Obama-era regulations that protected the environment, that he constantly praised Trump, but the Washington Post concludes that it may also be because the U.S. media was so heavily covering Pruitt's scandals that it therefore wasn't covering some of the potential misuse of funds from the Trump family.
And the American president has yet to announce who his replacement will be.
Indeed. In the interim, the job will go to Andrew Wheeler, who is Pruitt's deputy, and he'll take over until Trump announces someone and until that person is nominated, is confirmed by the Senate. Now, many Democrats are cheering that Pruitt's out. But this Andrew Wheeler may not be good news for environmental advocates. The Times says that he's a long-term Washington insider who is more discreet but shares the same sort of zeal to undo environmental regulations. So this may not be the end of what many consider Trump's anti-environment agenda.
And finally, on this Friday afternoon, a little something for those viewers who have decided to head to the cinema instead of sticking or gluing themselves to the television to watch the World Cup match.
Yeah, this article is actually about a predicament that most everyone has experienced at some point in their lives, having to go to the loo during a movie, and the fact that there is no pause button at the movies. So one journalist tackles the issue on Slate, and he shares his experience, and he decided to record a few minutes of the movie like a hacker with his smartphone so he could quickly go pee. Well, he then watches the missed minutes in his car afterwards and then erases it. But the journalist wonders, is that the right thing to do? It's ethically, he paid for the movie, but it is legal. And so for all of us who don't want to break copyright laws, Slate tells us that there is actually an app that you can use that tells you what scenes in a movie are safe to skip if you need a bathroom break.
I think the other thing they need to talk about is the design of women's toilets and how we all have to spend a very long time queuing or lining up to use a cubicle.
There need to be more of them.
It's sexism in design there as well. Thanks for that. That's Solange Moujan. And if you want to take a look at the stories that Solange has been referring to, you can, of course, head to our website, that being france24.com.